I love Christmas. That's the statement. This is me in a sweater. Just me in a sweater. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie, and pardon my voice, but I was sick this whole past week. I had the worst case of laryngitis, throat. I don't know what I had. I blame my office. That's what what happened. You work in an office, people are sick, you catch it. But I am here with a November reading wrap up. Technically, it's a little bit at like the end of October into November, and then a little bit of December. But we're just making it November wrap up because it's simpler that way. So if you're new to my channel, what I like to do is I go chronologically from what I read furthest back all the way to what I recently read. I tell you my star rating. I tell you a little bit about the book, but I don't give any spoilers because that's just wrong and we don't do that here. Triggers. If the book has triggers and I feel like it's a spoiler, because sometimes I feel like triggers are spoilers, I will have them listed in the description. If they're not spoilers, I will tell you guys. So let's just start. I think I have 9 books to talk about, which is nice for me, good for me, and we're just going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first book I want to talk about is one that, because I have been wanting just like an emotional read that's going to get me in my feels, and while it did not make me cry, it definitely does put you in the feels. And that is His Heart by Claire Kingsley. She is the author of the Bailey Brothers series, and she has a new series coming out. But this book is a standalone, and it's very angsty, and it's very emotional. So if you're looking for an emotional book, this is it. We are following our hero named Sebastian, and he is a wrestler, and like that's his life. And when he's at a wrestling meet, he ends up fainting, and he finds out that he's sick, and his heart is really, really sick. And on the other side, we are following our heroine named Brooke. Brooke comes from a very broken family. Her mom is very abusive, so trigger warning for that. It is shown on page. And she meets a boy at school named Liam. And because it starts when they're about 16, 17 years old. And Liam just becomes her support person. She ends up moving in with him because her mom is just no good. And she ends up moving away and she stays behind. And they get together. And we see little tidbits. I think it's like the first 4 chapters, or it's like 16 years old, 17, 18, 19. And we see from both point of views. And when Brooke is about 19, Liam asks her to marry him, and she says yes. And then they're in a horrific car accident, and Liam does not make it, which is where his heart comes into play. Okay? This is not a spoiler. You know this going in. So basically, Sebastian gets Liam's heart, and a few years go by, and he wants to meet the family of the donor. And she has not talked to them. She kind of just split up from them. She's doing her own thing, which is not the best. She's in a pretty horrible situation because she's hasn't been able to deal with the grief and the depression that came with that. So eventually they do end up meeting, and it's just such a beautiful journey of healing, but it is very, very emotional. So trigger warnings for grief work, depression, drug and alcohol use. But it's so beautifully written. This was so good. Like I said, I didn't cry because I was wanting to cry, but I didn't cry. But it was still very, very good. I would highly suggest it. What did I end up giving it? I gave it a 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed this one. So if you haven't, read it. Because I don't think I've heard anyone ever talk about this book. So give it. It's so good. Just be forewarned, it is emotional. Okay, the next book that I read, going from one emotional book to another for a completely different reason, The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. If you do not know, I did a reading vlog on this, and I went in. I went in on that book. So I will have that linked for you guys if you haven't watched it. But I gave it 5 stars. Like, I can't give anything but 5 stars. Britney Spears, I am the biggest Britney Spears fan. Ever since 1998, when I heard Baby One More Time, it was endgame. Me and her are endgame. It's 5. Like, she deserved to have her story told. I'm glad she was able to. And that's that. Like, she won the Goodreads Awards. So, thank you so much to everyone that voted. Not that I won, but I feel like I won, vicariously through her, because me and her are like that. But yes, I love this book. I would love a part 2. Brittany, if you're watching, you're not, but if you want to give me like a part 2, like, I will eat it up. Loved it. 5 stars. If you're not a fan, still read this. If you're a fan, like, you should be reading this. You should have already read it. Like, what's going on? But if you're not a fan, I would still highly read it, because it does give you an insight of kind of just like, because I know some people are like, what is she doing with her life? What is she doing on Instagram? Blah, 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 blah. She goes about it. She talks about it in this book. So read it. Okay, the next 2 books that I read were a duology. So I'll just talk about both of them, or a duet or duology, whatever. But it is the Crowned series, or Crowned Duet by Amo Jones. So we have Crowned by Hate and Crowned by Fate. I have never read Amo Jones before. These were my first ones, and this was like relatively pretty small. This one's still. But what the heck? Okay, I don't even know how to classify these books. Technically, they're romance, but there's so much more than that. It's like romantic suspense. It's a little bit psychological. It's not really too spicy. So, like, if you're, I feel like if you like thrillers, you would like these books. Yeah, okay. Let's start with this one. So in this one, we're following Isa. Isa is the president's daughter, and she is pretty much like a self-proclaimed sex addict, okay? She says it in the book, it's fine. And she's at this dinner for her dad, and she meets this guy named Bryant. And she thinks he's, cute and everything, but nothing would ever come of it. But Bryant has something on Isa, and he's like, you're going to marry me, because if not, I'm going to blackmail you, and I'm going to tell what I have on you. So she reluctantly, she gets married to him. And it's just kind of their romance. That's all I can say without giving spoilers. I will tell you, though, at the end of this book, right before you get to, like, the last chapter, little Amo, she comes on here, and she says, if you're satisfied with the image the story has given you, please stop here, as you're about to get a rude awakening. She's not lying, okay? She's not lying. You read that next chapter and you're like, what did I just read? Is anything real in my life? And then you have to go on to book 2. And book 2 leaves off right where this, no, it doesn't. It's about 6 months later. 6 months. But I can't tell you anything about this book because it's spoilers. Just know they're quick reads. I enjoyed them. If you like thrillers, romantic suspense, you don't know what's going on with your life, read these. I really enjoyed them. Will I read more from her? Yeah, because I like the reading. But honestly, I did not know what I was getting myself into when I decided to read these books. Not a clue. I gave this one, what did I give it? I gave them both. I gave them both 4 stars. So yeah, good, but very, it was a mind tease. The next book I read for me and Paige's book club, so the live show is on my channel, but I read Dom by S.J. Tilley, which is book 3 in the Alliance series, and I absolutely loved it. You can watch the live show to get like all of our viewpoints on this book, but I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. Dom is amazing, and he's unhinged, and I love him. So basically in the story, we are following our heroine named Val, and she meets Dom at the airport. He bumps into her, breaks her book bag on accident, and buys her like this brand new one that's like so expensive. And then of course they're sitting beside each other on the plane, and things just like, they hit it off, and they start texting back. If they give each other their numbers, they start texting back and forth a couple chapters. They meet up in Vegas. And what happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas, because they end up getting married. And that's all I can say. But it's so good. It's so good. She's a curvy heroine. He's an unhinged, alpha, possessive, protective hero. So if you like those, you're going to love Dom. I have to go back and read Narrow and King now. Like, I'm so excited. But just It's so good. Triggers, though, for this book will be in the description because there are. Oh, was there triggers in this one? Same as these books. Triggers will be in the description because spoilers. I can't tell you. But yeah, Dom, 5 stars. Loved it so much. Okay, next, I read a thriller and I was disappointed, but that's besides the point. I read I Let You Go by Claire McIntosh. So I'm not disappointed. I did enjoy this book, but it wasn't like fantastic. Like I don't know. It was good. It was good. Let me talk about it first before I go on a spiel. So in this book, at the beginning of this book, there is a hit and run and a little boy is killed. And basically this book is following the detective and another point of view. The detective trying to figure out who and what happened to this little boy who was driving the car, and the other point of view is a person affected by the accident. Don't want to give anything away because spoilers. This is in 2 parts. Okay, the first part is 200 pages long, and it is so slow. It's so I get it. I get why we need the part 1, but it's very slow. So I actually listened to audio because I had to. Part 2, like part 1 leaves you off with something because I thought I was reading something from someone in part 1. And then part 1 ended and I'm like, oh, hold up. And then part 2 starts and you just get a whole completely, like it's a whole different kind of point of view shift, even though it's from the same person. Trigger warning for domestic violence on page, death of a child. But that's not really a spoiler because it's the whole point of the book is about the hit and run of the little boy. I ended up 4 stars. Like I said, it wasn't bad. It wasn't fantastic, but part 2 made it worth it. Part 2 made it worth it. The next book that I read was for a reading vlog, and that was Flawless by Elsie Silver. I finally did it, y'all. I finally read Flawless. And I can say I've read it, so yay for me. I will leave that reading vlog linked for you guys as well if you haven't seen it, but I go into big details about the book. I liked it. Was it like fantastic? No, but that's okay. Like I wasn't expecting it to. I'm pretty sure I gave it, what did I give it? I don't even know what I gave it. I didn't write it down. I think I gave it a 4.5 or a 4 stars. It wasn't 5, but that's okay. So in this book, we're following Summer and Rhett. Rhett is a bull rider, and he makes the mistake of saying something where there's a camera, and, you know, PR. When you say something you shouldn't say, PR has to come and kind of clean up your mess, and that's where Summer comes in. Her dad is the owner of the PR company that represents Rhett. So basically, she is sent to live with him to kind of be his babysitter to make sure that he doesn't say or do anything else while the rest of the season is in play. And, well, she's had a crush on him for many, many, many years. You know, he used to be on her wall when she was younger. And it just kind of, it's an enemies to lovers, but I didn't get enemies vibes from these. I don't think they're really enemies. It is small town. Like, I don't know. I enjoyed it. Like, it wasn't my favorite small town, but it was my first cowboy read, I think. I don't think I've read another cowboy one yet. So I enjoyed it. I knew I was going to because I've already read The Gold Rush Ranch, the first book in that. So I already knew I liked her writing. I had been putting off reading this book, but now I've read it. And I know it's not everyone's favorite because a lot of people, like, love Heartless. So that's next on my list. But I'm pretty sure I gave this a 4.5. It was still very, very good. Very good. And then this next book, the last book, well, second to last book, is going to definitely be on my top favorite of the year. I read Sweet Dandelion by Macaulay Smeltzer, and I absolutely love this book. I love this book so much. So in this book, we are following Dandelion, or Danny. And at the beginning of the book, she has just moved in with her older brother because her mother has passed away from a school shooting that she and her mother were both involved in She just has gotten out of the hospital. She's done the rehab and everything to get kind of back to where she was before. And so she's living with her older brother in his condo, and she has to go to a new school. So she was in her senior year when this shooting happened. So she's doing senior year all over again. So she's a year older than everybody. So she's legal. I need to preface that before I go on. She is legal of age. Okay. So to kind of help with her getting back into the swing of things, they decide to set her up with the school guidance counselor for the rest, like the whole year, every day. She's going to go see Mr. Taylor. Mr. Taylor is a very good looking man. She kind of says that he looks like Clark Kent with his glasses on, and then without his glasses on, he looks like Superman. So in my head, I am not picturing Henry, what is it, Cavill? I'm sorry, I'm not picturing him. I'm also not picturing Tom Welling. I am picturing Dean Cain from the 90s Superman, if you've ever seen that show. That was a good show. That's who I was picturing, but it's probably not supposed to look like him, but that's fine. So she has to go and see him every day. His first name is Lachlan, by the way, if I didn't say that. And he's, good looking. And of course, something starts developing that shouldn't develop. She feels very safe with him. She feels like she can open up to him. She feels very comfortable around him. And as does he. As does he. And a little romance happens. Not little, it's a romance, okay? But it's taboo because even though she's of age, he's the guidance counselor. And did I mention he lives in the condo where her brother lives? No, I didn't. But he does, and that plays a part in the story because that's how they can actually be together. Because she says that she's going to her friend Taylor's house, which Taylor is Mr. Taylor. It's a whole thing. But I love this book because it actually has to like delve into the consequences of this happening because he is a teacher. So like he ends up leaving. Rumors start developing that, they were being inappropriate, things like that. And then, but I don't know, I loved it so much because it's not just about their story. It's also about her healing and her journey to get to where she needs to be healthy and in a healthy state of mind mentally. And I loved everything about this book. I gave it 5 stars. And then right after I finished this, I went onto Kindle and I read the little novella called Sweet Christmas, which is basically her and Lachlan's first Christmas together. It's like 46 pages, but I wasn't done with this. I wasn't done with the characters. So I had to go read it. And I loved it. It was just a cute little story of like their first Christmas. And I love her brother because her brother's like, I hate that guy because of like what he did, but I'll try to like him because you like him. And he calls him Loch Ness, which is funny because Loch Ness monster. But I gave the novella 5 stars as well. So yeah, that's it. Those are the books that I have read from the end of October all the way until now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you've read any of these books, let me know down below, or if any of these sound interesting to you, let me know which ones down below. Leave me a flower emoji because of Sweet Dandelion. I don't know if there's a dandelion emoji, but leave me a flower emoji in the comments if you just want to let me know that you are here. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new. I would love to have you join the family and stick around. All my social media is linked down below as always, my Goodreads and my Instagram if you want to stay more up to date and day to day with what I am reading and posting. But I hope you all are having a great day or evening, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye guys. Okay, that should work. Ever since 1989. You. I read this one for me, for... So in this book, we're following Winter. No, we're not. Winter is her sister. All my social media is linked. Phew, I whistled.